The major scale
is the most important scale
in Western music.
Come on, guys, you knew I was going to say it. Here's why. Everything either comes from this scale or is compared to it to see how it's different. It's the foundational scale. Here's how a major scale is built. If we looked at it from intervals from the root, we would get a major second, a major third, a perfect fourth, a perfect fifth, a major sixth, a major seventh, and an octave. If we looked at it as a series of half and whole steps, then we would get whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Okay, so this brings us to the modes. Modes are scales within parent scales. In this case, the major scale, which houses 7 scales inside of it. We get these scales by starting on each note of the major scale and just playing an octave up to the next note of the same name. It's best to think of these scales as separate entities in application because they each have their own kind of flavor. The first mode is called Ionian, which is just another name for the major scale. The formula for Ionian is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If we start on the second note of the major scale and play up to the second note an octave up, we get what's called Dorian. If we start from the root of D now, our formula is 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7. If we start on the third note of the major scale and play all the way through the scale to an octave up, then we would get Phrygian, which is 1, flat 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7. Lydian starts on the fourth note of the scale, goes up an octave. We get 1, 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, 7. Next, if we start on the fifth note, we get Mixolydian. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7. Next, sixth note is Aeolian, also called natural minor. We get 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7. And the last mode in the major scale is Locrian. We get 1, flat 2, flat 3, 4, flat 5, flat 6, flat 7. Now, why is this important? The reason why is because each of these modes builds a unique sounding chord. Let's start with triads. Triads are chords with 3 notes in them. We find these chords by stacking thirds. In other words, when we take the first, third, and fifth notes of each mode, it gives us a chord. These are the chords in a major scale. In the key of C, we get the chords C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, and B diminished. We can play them as open chords like this. Okay, so now we can give each chord a number written in Roman numerals. Uppercase means major, lowercase means minor. This gives us the chord formula for the major scale. This is called functional harmony. The benefit of using this method is that the relationships between the chords don't change no matter what key you're in. That makes transposing very easy. Let's look at some common chord progressions using the triads from the major scale. If you're liking this video and you want more, I'm offering private Zoom lessons, so contact me at cabbageguitar@gmail.com and we'll get something set up. Okay, so we can take this concept one step further by stacking one more third on each chord. This gives us seventh chords, or chords with 4 notes in them. The seventh chords we get from a major scale are C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G7, A minor 7, and B half diminished 7, also called B minor 7 flat 5. Each seventh chord is defined by its third and seventh. These are the most important notes in the chord, and the most attention should be paid to them. Let's look at some common chord progressions using seventh chords. We can keep going with this concept of stacking thirds until we've used every note in the scale for each chord. If we keep adding thirds past the seventh, we get the 9th, the 11th, and the 13th. These are the same as the 2nd, 4th, and 6th notes of each scale. They're just up an octave. This is what we call the upper structures of each chord. So essentially, if all the extensions are played, we'll have the entirety of the mode in one chord. Clearly, this is not practical, and it's not even possible on guitar. Plus, it would sound horrible, so I wouldn't recommend doing it anyway. But if we did this, the chords that we would get for the C major scale are C major 13, D minor 13, E minor 7, flat 9, flat 13, F major 13, sharp 11, G 13, A minor 7, flat 13, and B minor 7, flat 5, flat 9, flat 13. Basically, the chords and modes of the major scale are the same thing, just one's played all at once and the other one is played one note at a time. So the notes that you want to emphasize in the upper structure are the ones that differentiate it between the other chords in the major scale. For example, the 4 chord has a sharp 11, which differentiates it from the only other major 7 chord in the major scale, the 1 chord, which does not have a sharp 11. So a great way to organize your note choices when you're playing these chords is to play the 3rd and 7th, which define the chord, plus what we call a color tone, which is usually something in the upper structure that differentiates it from the other chords in the major scale. You can also use the 5th as a color tone. Let's look at some chord progressions using color tones from the upper structure. Learning this system will make it easier to analyze and learn other people's songs and write your own music. And of course, chords and modes can be substituted to make things
Spicy.
That's it for this one, folks. Hope you liked it. See you in the next one.